This is part two of the motors. I'm gonna speed this up. What I'm doing is, and I'm soldering the heavy wire on because the other wire it will be way too small for these motors and these props. So I had to slide the wire inside the orange tubing there and solder them and heat shrink them. And I couldn't find no SO cord or anything, so I bought some PVC, orange PVC hose to put the wires in. And I'm gonna heat shrink them and everything, and then put some big, heavier Thomas and Betts shrink tube on top of that because it's got hot melt glue in it, and that'll seal everything off really good. And then I'm gonna test the motors. That's shrinking it down, and it does. It looked pretty big, but it does shrink down. And at the very end, I'm gonna put a tie wrap on it when it's still hot, just to seal around the four wires going into it. I wanted those wires in the water and as short as possible, to keep those from heating up or anything like that. So that's me putting the tie wrap on it, and now I'm gonna test them and make sure that no bad connections or anything like that. Uh, and then we're going to. I kind of speeded this up because it's kind of boring. The My ATX board wouldn't run it, so I had to hook a battery up to it, and everything checked out fine. The next part will be running the wire through the kayak, and I had to do some modifications on my battery. Uh, I had some corrosion issues that I had to deal with, but other than that, uh, we'll get to that here in just a little bit. I'm waiting on a gland connector. Here are the motors, and they installed just like the older motors in the same holes and everything else. Actually, they are pretty much the same size. There's the fluorescent orange tubing that I got in there, and that's the gland connector that I was waiting on. It's a little bit bigger than the other one. Did several modifications up here on the front, moved the depth finder forward a little bit, got rid of the solar cells up there, found a better place to put a bigger solar cell. That's a new switch I'm using. It's a 75 amp battery disconnect switch. A little beefier. I ran heavier wire. I ran the number 10 wire in there because these are going to pull, and all you have to do is just touch it, and it will shut off pretty easy. Those things move a lot of air. I don't know whether they're going to stand up under the water load or not, but we'll see here in a little bit, in about 2 weeks. And the cool thing about it is, like I said, all you have to really do is just touch it and it shuts off. But if you want to just pulse it, all you have to do is just push down on it. Pretty neat switch. And I didn't know it did that, but I do now. So not showing you underneath there because that's just really not interesting. That's just the battery and some wires. There's a solar cell on top of my milk crate. You can buy these Amphenol plugs. They're inexpensive. They're waterproof. This way I can take the solar cell on and off, and I can put a bigger solar cell. On top of the milk crate, you got all that room up there just going to waste, and I thought that'd be a perfect spot. So I got one up there. These are very attainable. Unfortunately, the last ones I got was by somebody that had so many, and when they were sold, they were gone. This is a nice metal frame one. It can be replaced easily if something happens. It's weather resistant, not submerge proof, I don't think, but it does look pretty nicely done. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. And if anybody knows where I can get some of those hairpin clips in stainless steel where I don't have to buy 100 of them at a time, I'd appreciate it because the metal ones do rust. Everything still flips up like it's supposed to. Latches right back down. So when you're transporting it, everything stays there very nicely. Basically, the depth finder ties right into the battery. The solar cell ties right into the battery. And like I showed in the other video, you run one wire to the switch, the ground wire to the motors connected to the battery, one to the switch, out of the switch into the battery. Very simple setup. It's the same setup, I just used bigger wires. And I used a bigger solar cell this time. And like I said, in a couple of weeks here, we're going to find out how it's going to work. And I'll do a little video on that. I just gave the top of the kayak a little bling with some polystyrene and some Lexan. So and the lid still comes up whenever you want it to come up. It just stays right there. It's just ball bungeed on. And basically what I'm going to show you here is how I take my box off of here. It doesn't move. If you ever roll it over, nothing's gonna come out of it. I mean, it's I can pick the back of the kayak up with the milk crate. So I wanted to make sure it did stay there. I didn't want to lose anything if I did roll it over. But this kayak's so stable, I've never really had any close to an issue of it. I mean, you can roll any boat over, but this is like I said, this is a vibe kayak, and it is very, very stable. I'm very pleased with it. Yeah, and if anybody knows where you could buy these pins, like 4 or 5 or 8 at a time, and not 100 to 200 to 500 at a time, I would really appreciate it. I'm gonna look down there in Grand Isle when I go down there. Though they got a store down there that's got everything in it. So, and I'm sure they'll probably have those. But having to use a metal ones down and salt water does take care of them pretty quickly. And like I said, everything will just pull off. That's the last piece that had to go in my trailer before I go. And there's the wire, and there everything's in there. So if you like it, subscribe. Thank you for watching, and you have a good day.